and I want to welcome you to the 2024-25 Alternate Assessment Eligibility Training. My name is Asaad Fulton, and I am the Assessment Specialist for Special Populations here at AUSSIE. The purpose of this training is to support LEAs in the alternate assessment eligibility process through a more detailed review of the process, components of the application, and how it will look in the platforms. The Office of the State Superintendent of Education is committed to providing equitable assessment opportunities for all students in the District of Columbia. We are committed to working with our stakeholders to provide assessment options for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities. Alternate statewide assessments are available for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities as an alternative to participating in the general statewide assessments. As we get started, please sign in using the link in the chat. There will be multiple opportunities to ask questions, but during the presentation, I ask that you please keep your mics muted and put any questions that you may have in the chat. And just a friendly reminder that this training is being recorded and will be made available on the AUSSIE website soon. So we're going to go into the platforms and background. To successfully apply for review, you will need access to the Quick-Based Alternate Assessments and Special Programs platforms. I have included a list for the 2024-25 data liaisons, which you can use as a resource if you do not have access or proper permissions to these platforms. Access will remain for staff that has had it in prior years, but please reach out to your data liaison for new additions. This training will review the three types of different reviews that will take place, which will be initial determinations, application renewals, and appeals. A quick review of the alternate assessment timeline for 2024 and 25. LEAs have until October 10th to complete initial application submissions. AUSSIE's review window will start the following day, and we will deliver determinations back for applications completed by the deadline on November 18th. That same day, LEAs will have the opportunity to start appealing denied determinations from November 18th to December 6th. AUSSIE will deliver final determinations to LEAs on January 6th of 2025. Just a reminder for anyone that's just joining us, please sign in using the link that will be in the chat.
Can you drop a copy of the PowerPoint in the chat as well?
The PowerPoint in the recorded training will be made available after the presentation on the AUSSIE website. All right, so let's start reviewing the process for initial determinations. A friendly reminder that initial applications are due on October 10th. In about 2 weeks from today, you will use the special programs platform to upload required documentation needed for a review, an active IEP with alternate assessments marked off, a signed DC alternate assessment application form. This is also called the participation criteria form in PowerSchool special programs. The name of the DC alternate assessment application form is new, but we are still accepting old versions of the document within the 3-year time limit, which would be January 1st of 2021. AUSSIE has a goal to move away from LEAs uploading this form and using the embedded versions moving forward for future years. And lastly, sources of supporting evidence, which we will review in during this training as well. There is an electronic version of the DC alternate assessment application form within special programs. You can access it through the administration tab, hit document template translation, and scroll down to the IEP section. And you will use the statewide alternate assessment participation criteria participation criteria document that is listed within that tab. Once you click into the document, it will show you an output version of the form. You must select testing format for the correct version of the form to use electronically. Once you hit the testing format version, you will see this page, which is the electronic version you can use for completing application requirements. Sources of evidence. If the IEP team can say yes to these three categories, the student may be eligible for alternate assessment participation. Each category has multiple options of evidence you can upload. You do not need to upload every single bullet point there. Those are just options for you. All evidence and documentation must be dated within the last 3 years to be considered a part of the application, which will be school year 2021 to 2022 or later. And I've also included a hyperlink on this slide if LEAs need to review the guidance for significant cognitive disabilities, which was updated last year. So now I'm going to stop here for questions about any questions that may have come up for the initial application review.
Hi, I had a question about the significant cognitive disability, like the
Sure.
sheet that Aussie. So when I read it, it made it sound to me that it was moderate and severe intellectual disability. I know in the sheet it specifies that it's not like a specific disability category,
Mhm.
but I'm wondering, like, if a student is ID mild, does that qualify as a significant cognitive disability or not?
I would say it potentially could. It depends on, what evidence you have available that can support it. We'll take a look at all applications and the evidence that's available to make the determination. So I would say if you're questioning whether or not that student should apply, I would say yes, and we can take a look at the complete file and make a determination.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Were there any other questions before I moved on? Okay. So application renewals are for students that have been previously approved for alternate assessment participation last year for school year 2023-24. Our team will be reviewing all documentation, including the IEP, to ensure validity. LEAs should use special programs to make sure documentation is up to date. A new application form is not required, but all documentation must be within the 3-year time limit. LEAs can check to make sure the IEP is active and documentation is within the time limits on PowerSchool. The Documents tab will get you to all the uploads for a student. OSSI will use the finalization date as the determining factor. I'm going to stop again to see if there were any questions about application renewals.
Hi, Asaad. There
Yeah.
are a couple of questions, and I'll voice in the chat that I'll voice over.
Oh, I can't see the
One,
chat right now. Sorry.
oh, no, you're
Go
fine.
ahead.
One is, will we get a copy of the slides? And the answer to that is we will post both the recording and the slides to OSSI's website. So you will be able to look back at both of those.
Yes.
The second question is clarifying, do we have to upload documentation each year for renewal?
So the answer to that is yes and no, depending on whether or not the documentation is within our time, the 3-year time limit. So if it's still valid, you won't need to upload anything else. We will just take a look at the complete file to make sure everything is up to date, and that student will still be eligible for alternate assessment participation for this year. But if any documentation is expired, you would need to go in there and upload new evidence or refresh the IEP or things of that sort. Where exactly on the website will this be posted? It will be on the alternate assessments section of the website, and I'll make sure that when we release this information, it'll be in the NGA bulletin with a direct link so that it's not hard for you all to find. Give me 1 second. I'm still looking at these questions. We have to complete the PDF attachment application and the special programs form. No, it's one or the other. The embedded form is within special programs. You can complete that, or you can upload an attachment that you have. And move on to Carmel. 1, how can we find out if our school took this assessment last year? Stephanie, can you help me with that?
Sure. And this could be a case where you can reach out to us directly offline. I'll put both my email and Asaad's in the chat so that we can connect with you about what LEA you're from. And if
Right.
you're school-based, we can connect you with your LEA coordinator. If you are a non-public, we can talk with you directly also. And to answer the second question that Carmel had, if our school did not take this assessment last year, do we take it this year, or is it based on student eligibility? The answer is it's based on student eligibility. So right now we're walking through the process of how students are determined to be eligible for alternate assessments, and that can vary by school from year to year. So a school may have some students participating in one school year, but not in others. So the best contact would be your LEA coordinator to determine if you have students who were determined eligible previously, but we can be sure to leave our contact information so we can follow up with you.
Thank you for that, Stephanie. And just, I think we have one more question from DCPS. No, one more question. For renewals, does the application have to be uploaded by the 10th? The answer is yes. And then I believe you said the IEP had to say alternate assessments must be on the IEP. If it has not been on the IEP, but the team believes it should, we have to hold the IEP to put it. And if it gets denied, we have to take it off. Okay, so no, I answered and said you can make an IEP amendment, but no, if you get denied, it can still stay on there. The student might be eligible for an appeal, so that might be a situation where we just need additional evidence or documentation uploaded. But in the event that it gets a final determination of denied, that can still remain on the student's IEP, and we can try to get that student approved again for the following assessment season. If a student has alternate assessments checked in the IEP, but they did not take the assessment in their previous school due to eligibility, would the LEA have to follow the initial eligibility protocol? Yes. Okay. I think we answered all the questions right now. There might be more, but I'll take more questions towards the end. The last part of the alternate assessment eligibility process are appeals. So initial applications were submitted by October 10th, and determinations were given back to you all by November 18th. Any of these applications will be eligible for appeal, and we'll review that process now. So LEAs will use the QuickBase alternate assessment platform to initiate an appeal for a denied review. The application will allow LEAs to communicate further with OSSI about the case via the secure platform. Details about the denials will now be indicated through an additional notes column in the determination section of QuickBase and PowerSchool. You will still see a denial code as well. Please note that when you initiate an appeal, additional documentation or evidence must accompany this appeal through special programs. If we do not see any additional documentation added, the decision will remain and the student will participate in the general statewide assessments for 2024-25. Here is a list of denial codes and the descriptions for reference. And these will be the denial codes and descriptions you see in QuickBase and in PowerSchool. Here's the final eligibility determination by OSSI tab in QuickBase. You will see the final determination, which in this case would be the initial determination. You will see the denial code and description. And to the top right, you will see the OSSI reviewer and a timestamp of when they updated this information. The notes column will be under the denial code description. And I wasn't able to provide like an updated screenshot for that yet, but it will be there. I've already confirmed that it is there today. Once you click the LEA Appeal Process tab, you can initiate an appeal by choosing Yes, and you will update and add documentation into special programs. I'm going to stop here for a second because I think we have some questions that are related to appeals. Could you please show us in PowerSchool where to go to find the determination? I'm not sure if I'm able to do that without releasing student personal information, which is why I didn't include a slide on here. But Kathy, if you want to email me, I could probably set up a meeting with you to go over that in PowerSchool. And then Lauren, once the LEA has completed the steps by October 10th, do we notify OSSI that everything is ready in special programs? No need to do that, Lauren. We will have the information on our end, and we'll pull a report from the from QuickBase and special programs to see who has applied. I have had a student deny that I was absolutely sure checked all the necessary boxes. Who should I contact to just check the information that was entered for the student prior to the deadline. You would, so Ms. Morton, you can check, Ms. Morton, you can check with me, but you could also, you'll have access to QuickBase and Click to check which students are applying for alternate assessments this year. So you should be able to check what information was entered for the student through those platforms. But also, if you have if there's any challenges with it, I would say reach out to me, and I could definitely support you with anything with the process.
Asaad, I also see there's a hand up from Thomas in the queue.
Perfect.
Hi,
Go ahead,
hi
Thomas.
there. Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself as I am DCPS's alternate assessment. You can best point of contact. If you're with DCPS and you have questions about students' historic information, please reach out to me and I can provide that information if I have it. And I just wanted to flag that Asaad right now is reviewing a QuickBase application that only central office staff have access to. So the appeal process will look a little bit different, and the way you see determinations will look different if you're at DCPS. Just please review my guidance and training. I apologize. I don't have access to the chat for some reason, so I wasn't able to provide my details or anything like that. So I'll keep on trying. Thank you.
No problem, Thomas. And sorry for the challenges with the chat. I'm not sure why that is happening. Just go through this where we left off. Which was this slide. Okay. So for deadline reminders, OSSI strongly recommends LEA assessment managers and special education POCs to ensure all application requirements are met by the October 10th deadline. For applications that are submitted after November 18th, must fall under one or both of those categories, which are a new transfer student, new to the LEA, or meets the criteria outlined in the OSSI guidance for IEP teams due to a new disability determination. Please note OSSI may reach out to confirm if the late application meets one or both requirements. LEAs will also need to create an OST ticket in QuickBase to flag OSSI for this late review. OSSI will not review any applications after January 6th, 2025. Those students will participate in general assessments for the school year. And as we end our training today, I just wanted to do another timeline recap. We have initial applications being submitted by October 10th. The OSSI review window will be October 11th through November 15th. We'll send those determinations back to you LEAs on November 18th, which is when the appeal window opens for you all from November 18th to December 6th, and we will deliver final determinations on January 6th, 2025. I also want to note that if a initial determination is not appealed, that will be the final determination for alternate assessments for this school year. I'm going to check the chat to see if we have any more questions. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any additional questions.
Hey, this is Thomas again.
Mhm.
I just wanted to flag for DCPS staff. It's very important that if your student is unfortunately, if your student is denied, the next steps for the student would be like if the student is going to participate in a general test like DC CAPE or Access and not the alternate version, we do encourage teams should be updating the IEP back to general testing. So that way the IEP is always matching their assessment participation. You don't want a situation where it's mismatched. This is just for DCPS only. Schools are advised to change the assessment type to the assessment that the student will participate in. So if it's alternate access, of course you keep it alternate. But if the student does have to participate in DC CAPE, the IEP needs to be changed back to general to stay in compliance. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. Do we have any other questions?
Asaad, I just want to voice over the question in the chat about school test security plans.
Yeah.
The question is, are school test security plans due after eligibility is approved? And the answer is yes. Final determinations for alternate eligibility will be available in early January. And school test security plans are not due until 3 weeks before the school is intending to test, which is at the earliest mid-February. So you should have all of your eligibility determinations prior to test security plan being due.
Thank you for that, Stephanie. Just checking if we have any other questions. Okay, I will stop the recording now. Stop recording.